and we will be going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're live.
Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. It is currently 8 a.m. like normal. It is 76 degrees outside. It's going to be cloudy for most of the day with a high of 95 degrees. So it's going to be warm and muggy out today because there's a slight chance of rain all day. So there's going to be a lot of moisture in the air even if it doesn't start to rain. So it's going to be hot, and it's going to be that sapping, muggy, wet hot. So just be prepared. So you're gonna get drained if you're gonna be working outside today, and it's sticky out already. So be prepared for that. Traveling conditions are really not too bad right now. That was not the case about 10 minutes ago. So if you have not left for your commute into Tulsa, it's looking pretty good for you. So with that being said, no real changes to the local event calendar. So we're just gonna hop right into our kind of national news. And again, it's been slow. It's been a slow news week, thank goodness. So we've been actually struggling for topics that are somewhat important, but like we're just kind of throwing our hat in the wind effectively right now as far as struggling for content to talk about, which is a good thing. So I guess what we're going to kind of talk about is I guess some weird things going on with Kamala Harris. Well, and I say weird, she didn't have an original thought in her head. So we were watching some videos, and you sent me one earlier today that looked basically like she gave the exact same speech at campaigns side by side. Like, and we're not just saying like she had similar talking points. It's verbatim the same speech. It's so not only is she doesn't have an original thought, she's going off a teleprompter, and she's going off the teleprompter with the exact same script. Like, she's not even attempting to go out and add a little flair to anything. So, I mean, other than maybe changing her inflection on some of the stuff, I mean, if you put these videos side by side, you'd be like, this is the same clip. It's like they're pretending she's at different rallies, but it's the same video. You know what I mean? What do you think, Chad?
No, that's exactly what it is. So I remember how we said how if nepotism was personified, it would be Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Said if copy and paste was personified as a person, it's Kamala Harris.
Not bad. So yeah, we'll go ahead and play this little video here and see what y'all think. I mean, maybe you'll come to a different conclusion, but yeah, it's very unoriginal. Check it out.
Wisconsin. It is so good to be back in Michigan. Listen, let me tell you, I am clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state. And listen, I am clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state. I took on...
And if you can't see, I know some of you who are listening, one of these speeches is in Wisconsin and the other one's in Michigan. And you're hearing the exact same things because they're cutting back and forth from one from Michigan, one to Wisconsin.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
She is literally just using the exact same speech at different states.
Nice.
Perpetrators of all kinds. I took on perpetrators of all kinds and had a summer job at McDonald's.
She can't talk from her.
When I say. So hear me.
She can't talk?
When I say, I know Donald Trump's type. I know Donald Trump's type. And are we ready to fight for it? And are we ready to fight for it? It really is good to be back in Wisconsin. It is so good to be back in Michigan.
That is sad. Sad. But yeah, I mean, this is the stark difference between the candidates. Kamala doesn't have any policy. She doesn't have anything to offer the American people. She's just bland. She's a bland, empty suit or pantsuit. And, this is where, what is it? Rallies are where Donald Trump shines. Like, he's a good crowd worker. He works the crowd. He does it well. So, it's just crazy. It's just the amazing difference between the candidates. But yeah, go ahead and play this other one. This is more about Tim Walz this time.
Yes. This one here, you can't read if you're not watching. It says, MSNBC host says it drives him crazy that Republicans are calling out Tim Walz for putting tampons in the boys' bathroom, which here's the issue with this is the media is not saying in the boys' bathroom part. They're just saying Tim Walz is providing tampons, and Republicans are making fun of him for it. No, that's not why Republicans are making fun of him for it. They're making fun of him for it because he's putting them in boys' bathrooms at schools. From like
Public
what he
schools.
said. I think he said from like high school to like I think he said like 3rd grade.
Yeah.
So very odd, and it's weird. But so that's why he's being called Tampon Tim. It's not because he's providing tampons for women. It's because he's providing tampons in boys' bathrooms at public schools.
Yes, he's humoring the nonsense gender ideology. So, I mean, it is silly that we pretend that men can be women and women can be men. And not only that, then when we facilitate this facade, then whenever you have women who think they are men, well, of course, they still technically menstruate unless they've had a hysterectomy or whatever, or had their parts removed. But if they don't fully transition, yeah, they're still going to bleed. So they're like, well, I identify as a man, so I'm going into the men's restroom. So whenever it's my time of the month, I'll need to still use this. It's like, it's very dumb. It's very silly. Why would you do it? You know, it's just, it's nonsense. And the fact that but again, the left-wing media and not just the media itself has convinced people that this is a real issue and that this is something to be taken seriously, which it shouldn't be taken seriously, but since it's being taken seriously, they can feign outrage over it. And it said, again, they're not even feigning outrage anymore. It's like they've convinced themselves that this is one of the most important issues facing the world today, and they can throw a hissy fit about it. It's like, he's being polite and sensitive and nice. Like, and Republicans are just being bullies. It's like, we're not being bullies. We're just calling a spade a spade. We're calling reality as we see it. We're not going to indulge your fantasy. But, I mean, maybe it's already too late. I mean, they might have won this one in the culture war already.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just sad. It's the sad state of affairs that we're living in.
Yep. Well, I'll go ahead and play the video if
Yeah,
you're ready.
Go for it.
And transition.
See, because it is making fun of something very serious and very caring that he has done for Minnesota students. Talk about this.
Well, first and foremost, Tim Walz is a dad, and that is big dad energy, making sure that folks who need access to hygiene products have them. We don't charge people to use toilet paper right at their schools. This is a necessity for people, and I think it just shows like the kindness and the goodness in him. And I also think folks are telling on themselves, right, when they don't see why this is a necessity. You're telling me you've never had to use a wad of toilet paper and like try to figure it out, or that you haven't had resources to pay for tampons or for pads. This is a real issue, and it just shows how disconnected they are from the lives of real people across the country. I think it's a huge victory, and he should wear that moniker proudly.
Things he is.
And not one mention that it was in boys' bathroom the entire time. Not one mention of it.
Yeah, boys' restroom. So what news source is that?
It was MSNBC.
Okay, MSNBC. It's not surprising that's coming from MSNBC. But look who's even talking about that. Look at that effeminate man, and that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I can say she's the most masculine woman I've ever seen, but they're preying on feelings. They're preying on sensibilities. They're like, oh, aren't we the nicer people for doing this? It's like, no, I would say you're actually cruel for indulging in people's delusion. Again, Ben Shapiro always had great arguments for this. She's like, my uncle is a schizophrenic, and he thought the radio was talking to him. We didn't indulge his delusion, say, yes, the radio and TV is actually talking to you. You need to destroy the government. It's like, no, you're schizophrenic. You're having issues. Like, you're not well. But for whatever reason, we indulge this trans ideology stuff. No problem. It's not an issue. Your beliefs are valid, even if no one else can see it. So again, that's what we're dealing with here. They think it's kind to indulge in people's delusions, as where we go, no, it's cruelty to indulge in people's delusions. So it's sad. And again, we're being led by an effeminate media, propping up effeminate men, that guy. Like, I have a problem with this. It's like, he's a very effeminate man. giving his opinion. There's nothing wrong with effeminate men giving their opinions, but you wonder why our culture's in such a bad state, because so many effeminate men are being propped up. Because effeminate, agreeable men will be the ones that that the media and culture is going to prop up because they can utilize them, they can use them. Men who are disagreeable, people like Trump, people like Elon Musk, those are the people that are actually leaders. Those are the people that you can actually get followers. Like those guys, nobody's going to follow that mainstream, that MSNBC news report host. Like nobody cares because he's not really a masculine man. Like nobody's going to be like, he's not. If he was like, I'm going to lead a group, follow me, nobody's going to listen to him. He's just going to be like, I'm just going to go with the flow, and whatever I'm told to say, I'll say in order to keep my job. So yeah, go ahead and we'll move on to the next subject, which is, I guess we're talking about the demographic. Is demographics destiny? Or I guess the subject of today's show, the diversity double standard. Mm-hmm. So again, we talked about in a couple of videos ago, we talked about how Europe is on fire right now, or not just Europe, the UK specifically.
Yeah.
And I mean,
but it is all of Europe. Like I said, France is the same, is probably worse off.
But I mean, yeah, there's been actually murders, rapes that have been happening in France, tons of sexual assaults happening while the Olympics are going on, but they're not talking about it in the media because France doesn't want to look bad on a public spectacle since they're hosting the Olympics. You know what's funny is did you hear about in Japan? They have like a hotline in France for Japanese people who go to France, who like the Japanese people that go there are so underwhelmed and so devastated by how the expectation of what they thought France would be on their vacation doesn't live up to it, that they actually, there's a lot of suicides that happen in France, specifically by Japanese tourists, because they are so let down by how disgusting France is.
And I will even be the first to like agree with that, because every person I've met who has gone to like Paris, France, has been like, don't go. It's awful. Like you're going to go to the Eiffel Tower.
You're going to get
there's
mugged.
going to be a bunch of people trying to mug you there and trying to sell you crap that you don't need, and it's awful. He goes, it was the most underwhelming. And this is several people that I've met who have gone to Paris. Like it was the most underwhelming experience
of my life. So yeah. So anyway, there's a hotline in Japan where they literally speak Japanese and they go, oh, don't end your life over your disappointment of France. Like I mean, it's unbelievable. Like I cannot believe how, like I heard about this and I thought it was a joke, but like it's not. It's real. So anyway, getting off the point, but is demographics destiny, especially for Britain? So right now we all know that that kid had stabbed those killed 3 girls who were at a Taylor Swift dance class or something like that, and it was a second generation immigrant. But like I said, the fires have already been lit. You know, like this is a powder keg waiting to happen, and this stabbing was the event that ignited it. And you know, granted, they're all the ethnically the nationals of the UK. You know, the great people who are from Great Britain and have been citizens of the UK for generations are obviously blaming the Islamic community. Now, the Islamic community didn't have anything to do with the stabbings, but like I said, the fire was already lit. You know, this, again, the powder keg that you could cut the tension with a knife and it's exploded. So everything that's been happening in the news, all the double standard in policing against the citizens, so they protect the Islamic people, they don't protect the actual citizens of the UK who are taxpayers, it's bad. So now they have their reason for going around and attacking other people. So now you have the fight that was coming. Douglas Murray talked about this in the book, The Strange Death of Europe. Mm-hmm. Either way, it's happening now, and you're seeing this double standard. And now you have folks who are of different races who are in parliament and in positions of power and talking about how they think it's ridiculous that there's not more diversity in their countries. And like, you know, go ahead and play this and just watch this guy's ridiculous, dumb opinion and dumb take on what this is Welsh or Scottish Parliament.
Yep. Hang on 1 second here. Let me go ahead and get this going. Transition. Go.
That 99% of the meetings I go to, I'm the only non-white person in the room. But why are we so surprised when the most senior positions in Scotland are filled almost exclusively by those who are white? Take my portfolio alone. The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The head of the Law Society, white. The head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every prison governor, white. And not just justice. The Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer, white. The Chief Veterinary Officer, white. The Chief Social Work Advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country
says white,
headed
like it's a bad
by
thing.
people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public...
We get what he's getting at here. But here's the problem is, let's look up, I just Googled the demographics, the racial demographics of the United Kingdom. And it says here that it is, as of now, or 2021 census, the 2021 census, it is 81%, almost 82% Caucasian, 9% Asian, which that also includes the Middle East for some weird reason, and India.
Well, yeah, it should not include them. But that's another way that the UK hides their the overrepresentation of Middle Eastern / Islamic crime rates, because they just go, oh, they're Asian. It's like, because, oh, yeah, watch out for the Yakuza in England, you know? Like,
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, and then black is 4%, and then mixed ethnicities says about 3%, and then other ethnic groups, which I would assume would be like Native American or any other like it says make about 2%. So why is this guy here complaining about a population that has been predominantly white? I mean, if you go back through the very far back history, it is pretty much all white, probably 99% white. Why is he weirded out that this country that has been predominantly white all throughout history is got mainly white people on all their executive boards and like in parliament and whatever
Yeah,
else?
if you want equity, 80% of parliament should be white. But again, they don't want equity. They want diversity for diversity's sake. They want, like, this is what happens when, this is why the ideology of diversity is such a pervasive, disgusting thing. Because his whole idea, like, he can't stand the fact that he's surrounded by white people. Like, diversity of thought be darned. It doesn't matter what your opinions are. It's like, and what's sad is people on the left will agree with his take. Be like, yeah, absolutely, we need, you know, they won't relinquish their positions, but they think people on the right side or on the conservative side should be like, well, they need to relinquish their positions because they're the racists and, you know, they need to go because their political thought is outdated. Like I said, the only diversity that truly matters is diversity of thought and diversity of opinion. Diversity of skin color, diversity of race is irrelevant. We should care, again, the Martin Luther King strategy. It's like we should care about the content of each other's character, not the skin color.
Yep. And like
what you bring to the table is what's important, not what you look like.
Yeah. And the fact that equity, we know equity doesn't work because if it can't be applied in sports, it can't be applied appropriately in law.
Period. But yeah, I mean, and it's not just us that are talking like this. Now watch this video of this chick walking through London.
If you were about to, so let's just preface this. If you were about to go on vacation to England, or let's say specifically here, because this is London, what would you expect to see? You know, what is your, imagine it in your head. What would you expect to see when you, the average person, anywhere in the world, doesn't matter where you are, we're going to go to London for the weekend or for a holiday.
We're going to go see Hogwarts, right?
Exactly.
And
exactly. You're thinking of
Big Ben.
Big
You're
Ben.
talking about the palace, the you know, the
Buckingham
Queen's Palace,
yeah, all that stuff. Like, and I'd imagine, you know, mainly a bunch of
London Bridge,
London British people being like, "Hello, would you like to go to a pub, mate?"
Yeah. Would you like some tea and crumpets?
But I'll show you. Here is
a girl
walking around the streets of London
in 2024.
It says June 17th of this year. So let me pull up the video real quick, and we will start this.
Cutie. Don't like the lips though. Fake lips.
I like that.
So with the UK flag flying or a British flag flying? Nope, Palestinian flags are flying though. Lots of hijabs, lots of Middle Easterners.
So now I see what John Cleese was talking about when he said he's a foreigner in his hometown of London.
You might need that. But yeah, he is. They are foreigners in their own country. I mean, like I said, that's. I mean, who was it that did the study? They did studies in the U.S. a while back, and they said, what does diversity bring to cities? And this was like something done back in the 60s or 70s, a study. And they said the only thing that a diversity brings to your city is more marches, so more parades, and more TV watching. Those are the only two things that diversity bring to your culture.
And protests, and they said protests.
Yes, protests. Well, I guess protests and marches probably go hand in hand.
That's what it was. Protest marches.
Yes, so protest marches and TV watching are the only two things that go up whenever diversity is actually brought into your community. They could not actually find anything else that positive that was brought by that. And I say, how is protests positive? I mean, I guess if you're like all about free speech and you go, hey, the more protests, the more people are bringing. But what if they're bringing awareness to something like, again, it's like whenever people are protesting for Palestine or they're saying we want Sharia, or like these Islamic groups that say we want Sharia in the UK. It's like, how is that good for your culture?
Yeah. Especially, like I said, if they advocate for Sharia, especially here, if they advocate for here in the United States, the left is all about keep your church away from my politics.
But yeah, but the difference is the Christianity is a joke and all other religious perspectives and persuasions are to be taken seriously, deadly seriously, especially Islam, because there are actually deadly consequences to speaking out against their religion. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we got problems. We got problems, and that's one of them right there.
Yeah. But yeah, that is not what I picture when I see London. Was basically the kind of the point we were trying to get across here.
Yeah, I mean, that should highlight the diversity double standard. Again, all religions are to be taken seriously and at face value, except for Christianity. Everything else can't be made fun of. You can't talk about it. You can't talk ill of it. You know, and then like I said, you just got to go. I mean, again, here is we pull up that this following clip, and we'll kind of end with this. But you know, here is a clip of what happens for protesters or the double standard of sentencing in the UK. So check this out. I mean, if you can read that, Chad, I can barely see it from here.
Absolutely. Give me 1 second here. All right, from Kevin Sorbo. This is what is happening in the UK right now. Posted a racist, as you can see, it's two white guys and then a Middle Eastern guy. Said white guy number one.
Well, as in the UK, as they would say, Asian.
Yeah,
he's Asian, not Middle Eastern. Yeah, not Arabic, you know, of an Arabic or Middle Eastern descent.
Exactly. But here, says the first white guy, posted a racist comment on Facebook. Jailed for 15 weeks. The second white guy sold anti-immigration stickers. 24 months in prison. And then the last one, who is the Middle Eastern or Asian fella, as the UK reports would say, repeatedly assaulted a 12-year-old girl. Got 180 hours of community service. 0 prison time. I say again, 0 prison time.
Yeah, this is how you know that in the UK they have double standards in culture and double standards in sentencing disparities, obviously. I mean, how do you assault a minor female and only get community service? That's profound.
Yeah. And this is how everyone's like, every country has free speech. No country besides the United States has free speech, and the left has been touting down on free speech here for a very long time. They're trying to get laws like this put into place here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, whenever you hear somebody say, we need to be more like Europe, that is a problem.
Yeah.
That is a problem. The United States is not to be more like Europe.
Konstantin Kisin brought this up, and he said, you know, in Russia has worse free speech laws than most countries in the world. But you know how many people went to jail for violating free speech laws there? I think it was like 50. You know how many people in the UK went to jail last year for violating free speech laws? Or not for practicing freedom of speech, and the government didn't like it? 1,200. 1,200 people were arrested and jailed in the UK for practicing their freedom of speech. And then again, so last night, if you weren't aware, and this is kind of irrelevant to the subject today, but Elon Musk hosted Donald Trump on X in a little, I don't know what you call it. It's like a live chat thing in X. And
whatever the X.
Yeah,
you know,
hundreds of
chat
thousands
is.
of people were watching live just to hear Donald. And I'll be honest with you, not a lot of interest was said. They talked about the assassination. They talked about what their plans and goals were for the future. Talked about how we need to start drilling and having oil freedom here in the U.S.
Energy independence again. And the only thing that I will say that I think they touched on that I thought was relatively important was the fact that the rest of the world leaders respected him as a leader, whereas they clearly were not doing the same
For
to
Joe Biden or Kamala Harris.
and they probably won't for Kamala Harris either.
But that's actually not where I was going with this. So in Europe and the UK specifically, they were talking about bringing Elon Musk up on charges for hosting Donald Trump. So again, Elon Musk is an American citizen who owns an American-based company, and they were saying, well, Twitter, since X or Twitter functions in the UK, they were going to bring him up on charges and start investigations of him for allowing Donald Trump, for hosting him on X. It's like, he's not even from the UK, and they're attempting to prosecute him or bring him up on, for charges for allowing him to host Donald Trump on his own platform that he owns. That goes to show you the level of free speech that Europe and the EU have. They don't. They're like, oh, you're hosting Donald Trump? Well, we arbitrarily don't like that, so we are going to punish you, and we're going to try to put more restrictions on you and your platform. How ridiculous is that? You can build your own company, and people in a different country will be like, no, you can't do that. We're not going to allow you to do that. You're not even one of our citizens, but we're going to find a way to see if we can't prosecute you. So stupid. But this is the world we're living in now. I mean, I don't think George Orwell could have predicted the level of insanity that we're living in now. He was darn close, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. So anyway, that's about all we've got for you today. We just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention because, well, it's been a slow news week, but that's still some important stuff that we want to share these stories with you and share our perspectives on what we think, you know. Share what you think back to us in the comments. Let us know if we're wrong. Let us know if there's something we're missing. We love to chat.
Share our opinions and what I would consider the average Joe / average conservative take on it, we'll say, because that's how we see it. If you see it a different way, let us know in the comments or email us, chat us, whatever, but it's just very weird. A lot of weird stuff's going on in the world that even like Democrats, I think, 10 years ago would be thinking was weird. But today, for some weird reason, there's some switch that's flipped, and they're like, nope, this is normal.
Yep. Anyway, that's about all we got for you today. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. That's all we've got for you today. We're signing off. God bless you.
See you later, everybody.